Hi guys, welcome back to Conversations with Kanyomozi. My name is Lisa Kanyomozi Raboni, and I apologize. I know when I put out the first content, I said consistency, but then there's something called education, which sort of like messed up with my consistency, but we are back. Thank you so much again for helping us raise the funds that we did for FemPower UG for the sexual assault awareness campaign. We ended with 2,745,000 Uganda shillings, and our target was 1 million. So that was really over and above and amazing. I'm so grateful. However, as soon as we're happy and celebrating that win when it came to sexual assault, the Ugandan government just said,
That's enough.
what's up? Anyway, I'm here in studio, lol. I'm here with Elizabeth Kemigisha.
Yeah.
Hi, love. How are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm glad to be here. And I'm really excited that you go to do the amazing work online of fundraising all this money. I know like many times it feels like every day there's someone begging for something. So you're kind of scared. Will I also go with my bag? Will they give me? So it's amazing to see that people trusted you too to
With
sort
money.
of,
And with excess money, I kept telling them, guys, let's make 2 million. Okay, let's. And they really did show up and show out. Elizabeth, introduction.
Oh, my name is Elizabeth Kemigisha. I'm a feminist lawyer and organizer, currently doing the work that I do with the Uganda Association of Women Lawyers that most of you may commonly know as FIDA Uganda. I'm part of a vlog, Kalango. Black No Sugar, check us out. We talk about everything women and it's beautiful content, so you should check it out.
I
interest,
second that message.
Yeah, I have a lot of interest in the work that young people are doing, have interest in women, have interest in physical policy and human rights. So that includes debt, taxes, economic justice work, and etc.
Numbers.
Yeah.
So she's given you a large catalog of what she does, but I have her here specifically on something to do with the Sexual Offences Bill 2019. If you follow Uganda news at any single point, then you do understand that there was amendments made to a few clauses, and some clauses were taken out of the Sexual Offences Bill. Now, the reason why we're having this conversation is whether the decision makers or the lawmakers or the legislators knew it or not. The decision to take out a few clauses and not include certain things into the bill means it's much harder for victims, and we need to talk about that. So let's just go back to the history of the Sexual Offences Bill.
Yeah, so the Sexual Offences Bill was first presented as a private member's bill by Honorable Monica Aboding in 2015, and then presented in Parliament, I think in 2016. And there are a few things that changed to the version that we had of 2019 that was recently, just a few 2 weeks ago, presented for discussion in Parliament and then passed. In the beginning, I was about to say in the beginning, the Sexual Offences Bill, and I'd said certain bits and pieces of it without rushing the conversation, still speak to the core purpose. It was one, to provide more protection for victims of sexual violence during trials. Two, to enhance punishment for offences of sexual violence, but to also have a more effective manner of handling sexual offences, which I think was also a very good thing. But also one of the other focuses of the Sexual Offences Bill was to have a law that speaks to the violence that Ugandans face when they are not in Uganda. Now, one of the things that we really need to appreciate about the Sexual Offences Bill was the fact that it spoke to some of the evolving natures or dynamics of or manifestations of sexual violence. I remember in 2018 when we were having a lot of cases of sexual harassment, Sex for Marks, that was run by several media houses in this country. So it took into consideration, some of those things. And I remember in 2018, feminist groups sort of enhancing their lobbying and saying, you see, all these things are happening. It's real. It's happening to the students in school. So maybe you should fast track this act. But also it was speaking to some other new, I don't want to call them new, but they're now more real to people because they see them happen more often. Child sex, sexual exploitation, sex tourism, sexual harassment in all its manifestations in the different sectors where most women who are victims of this happen. So I would say overall, this bill was the perfect, piece of legislation to respond to sexual violence in this country.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you think it worked before the amendments?
Yeah.
I know we had a conversation with Safina, who's one of the team leads in FemPower, and she just spoke to us about how when they're working with victims who go on to report, one of their biggest issues is the institutions that people go to report to.
Yeah.
So do you think it worked? Do you think if it was impactful?
Yeah. This is a very sticky subject, mostly because I know there's been a lot of people who've invested a lot of money, a lot of resources generally, and from both the government side and from civil society that have done work on the sexual offences bill. And there are several wins in there.
Yeah.
And I'll give it to our legislators in certain bits and pieces of where we thought this is a win right there, right? On whether it's going to actually enhance protection for victims of sexual violence during trials, I am not very certain. Yeah, I'm not very certain. I think a lot better could have been done, especially because legislators, MPs, have the mandate, one, to educate themselves about the lived realities of the people that they're legislating for. I don't think that came through a lot. We saw it during plenary that day, and it was outrageous. You could think that it's a comedy show. Yeah, the mockery with which several examples were given
made.
about how women behave, how many of them now wear buttocks. So when I get to the hotel and it's not what I got, what do I do? How many women are going to use some clauses in there against political opponents? It just didn't feel like through the conversation the victim was at the center, which was the core purpose of the SOB. Yeah.
Okay. And that's exactly how we're going to end part one of this conversation, because we've understood where the bill came from, what work it has attempted to do.
Yeah.
Of course, we've politically correctly spoken about the institutions. However, I do want to get into the amendment, what has just happened. And when we had this interview on my show on Sunday, Elizabeth introduced me to a new term, what poured, when it came to the Sexual Offences Bill 2019.